If I can have your attention here in the Media Center, we will go ahead and start our pre-race media availability for Sunday's Hollywood Casino 400 in the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. We're joined by Matt Kenseth, driver of the number 20 DeWalt FlexVolt Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing. Matt, pretty darn good at this racetrack, 2 wins, 3 poles, 13 top 10s. What has made you so good at this racetrack, particularly recently?
Well, probably the same things that made me so bad last time we were here, just fast race cars. I think after they paved it, we had a couple of years there where we just had really fast cars, and then kind of things went right in the race, and we were able to capitalize on that. So, as good as your last race, our last one here, we ran really, really bad. So looking forward to getting on a track today and hopefully redeeming ourselves this weekend.
Okay, we'll open the floor up for questions. If you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll go to Holly, then to Claire, and then to Bob.
Holly K, NASCAR.com. Matt, having said that, I would assume, however, looking at your statistics, that this is a good place that you feel like to come in and have to race, to be in the position you are and have to race yourself in. And secondly, if you could address driving school buses for us.
Yeah, I mean, there's only, I guess, 5 races left, last race of the round. We're kind of running out of races this year. Obviously, winning's been important to us, and we haven't been able to do that in about a year and a half. So, with all that being said, if we can't, run good here, we're probably not going to run good anywhere the rest of the year, even though Martinsville is very unique, and I always feel pretty good going there. But this has always been, like you say, kind of, I feel like one of my better racetracks from a driver's standpoint. It's a pretty basic racetrack, 1.5 miles. Still not very bumpy. There's multiple banking, but your intermediate stuff, if it's ever going to run good, it should run good here. So hopefully we can make it run good.
We'll go to
school. No progress in the school bus job yet. That was 95% a joke.
We'll go to Claire, then to Bob, then to Dominic.
Maybe. Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. Talking about the characteristic of this track, other than the fact that it's a cutoff race, and I know you race hard every single race, what is the characteristic of this track that makes it, we've had such crazy things happen here over the years. Is there anything beyond the fact that it's the cutoff race, it's in the playoffs, that makes it so?
Well, I mean, I think every situation and every trip here is probably a little different. I think after they paved it, like a typical repave, you got to come with a very hard tire, and it's very air dependent. And I know there was a lot of crashes here. The cars were real edgy. I think that out of all the repaves we went to, this is by far the best one since I've been around. So they did it was a great track before they paved it, and I think, like everybody else, we're all afraid of ruining it. And it's really good with the three grooves and 3 different bankings, and it widened out faster than any repave I've ever seen. So it's a great racetrack. It's always really racy, a lot of options out there to try to find somewhere to pass. Real, still pretty smooth and fast. So, it's a racy racetrack. It's good.
Go to Bob, Dominic, Jerry, and the postman.
Bob Hockers, ESPN. Do you feel good about your chances to advance, or do you feel like you weren't very good here in May and it's going to be an uphill battle?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I could probably give you a better answer after all the practices are done tomorrow and kind of have a good idea where you're at. Last time we were here, we ran bad from the second we unloaded until we were done with the weekend. So I'm optimistic that we'll unload with decent speed today, and it'll drive decent. We'll get it driving good tomorrow, I hope. So Charlotte was a struggle. Never got to drive good the whole weekend. Didn't run very well. And Talladega. So hopefully we go this weekend and perform well. Obviously we had, 8 months to collect stage points and bonus points and get wins and do all that. And even though we finished last weekend, we're still, out of the next round so far, because of all the bonus points and stuff that we did not collect. So we got to go there and have a solid run, obviously, to get to the next round. And like I say, if we don't run good Sunday, then we don't deserve to be in the next round anyway. So it's a great racetrack. It's one I really like. And hopefully we can hit it right this weekend. And as a group, we can all execute, perform at a high level like we're capable of doing, and move on to next week.
Go next to Dominic.
Dominic Ottergone with the RacingExperts.com and ESPN Radio Albuquerque. Being a playoff elimination race, how much has that been on your mind, I guess, the last few days and in the hours leading up to this race weekend?
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't been a lot, really. I mean, there's, like I said, you have all year to collect all those points, which we didn't do a very good job of getting very many. And then I think that, I know Talladega is very unique, but, all three races are equally as important, really. I mean, if you look at Martin and Brad, they got their wins the first 2 weeks, so then this week doesn't really matter. I mean, it still does. You want to collect, bonus points and all them things, playoff points, whatever. But each race is equally as important. So, I mean, they always, I guess, feel more important the way everybody looks at them when it's actually a cutoff race, because you don't have next week if you don't perform well in this race. I mean, you do, but not as live for trying to run for a championship. So, but to me, it's just another weekend, another opportunity to go out and try to win and try to get this ship turned around a little bit.
Go to Jerry, then to Steve, and then back to Holly.
Jerry Jordan, KickingTheTires.net and PRN. Matt, last time you were P1 in the media center, you had big news for us on your future. Do you have any news for us now on your future going into next year?
Nah, just hour from now we're ready to hit the racetrack. Try to get running, good this weekend. So nothing beyond right now. I feel like we got a lot to do yet in 2017. Not really, still kind of in the same spot. Not really worried that much about next year. Really have anything I want to talk about?
Steve Post, Motor Racing Network. Matt, as stages unfold, as the race unfolds on Sunday, are you a driver that kind of wants to know what's going on with those around you or not? How does that work internally with your team? I mean, they've got obviously computer systems and everything. They're monitoring it well. How do you like to manage that, knowing it's a moving target stage by stage, sometimes lap by lap, actually?
Yeah, I don't really want to know anything unless there's something I can do about it. I mean, if it's the last lap and there's somebody 2 feet in front of you, then obviously you want to know you need that spot, kind of like, Newman at Phoenix that year type of thing. You need one spot or something you can do about it. But other than that, I don't want to know. I don't want to add any more to their plate than what they already have to figure out race strategy and adjustments and trying to capitalize on every stage and get as many points as we can. So I think you just go out with the idea of trying to, sit in a pole, win all the stages, and win the race, then you're in for sure. Other than that, I guess when it gets down to the end, when it's all over, you want to know, obviously, whether you're in or not. And if there's something you can do about it different, but, man, you're racing as hard as you can to try to keep your car in position the whole races right now. So if there's nothing I can do about it, I don't really want to know.
Holly?
One last thing, Matt. It's interesting. I mean, there's 3 former champions, yourself and Jimmie and Kyle Busch, that are kind of all on that, cutoff line right there. Could you just talk about that? I mean, the competition's pretty serious there with you all.
Yeah, I gotta be totally honest with you. You're not gonna believe me probably, but I haven't looked at the points. I haven't even looked at them. I have no idea. Besides the 2 guys that won races, really where anybody is. I actually, at the time in Talladega, when I watched everybody crash and not many green spoilers left out there, I figured we were going to be in halfway decent shape. And then somebody told me we were still like, I don't know, 8 or 10 out or something like that. So other than that, I have not looked at it, to be honest with you. I realized we didn't get any stage points last weekend, and a lot of guys did, and didn't get many stage points at Charlotte. So, there's just, you think about it in the stages is half the points that you get for the race. I mean, that's a lot, and it's a ton of points. So, and I realize we haven't really got a lot of them. So, I haven't really looked at it. I know we need to, been saying all year, we got to perform better, and we have been, and finish better than we have been if we expect to be a contender down the stretch anyway. So hopefully this is a weekend for us. Hopefully we can have a breakout, get qualified good, lead some laps, and get a finish.
Yeah, Kevin, Matt, Randy Kovitz, Kansas City Star and USA Today. Follow up on that question, the fact that you and Jimmie and Kyle are kind of in peril, and even Kevin, would help him to win. He doesn't totally need one, but what does that say about this series right now and the competition that 4 champions are kind of on the brink?
Well, I mean, I think the sport has always been what have you done for me lately, sport? You're only as good as your last race. But if I'm Kyle, I'm feeling pretty good, man. He's crashed 2 weeks in a row, and he's still in. I think he's still in. So that's pretty amazing. So, and plus he's been running so good. It's one of his better places now. So I wouldn't be, I wouldn't be very concerned if I was Kyle, I guess, because, he's had the performance now. 48 hasn't run quite as good as he's accustomed to running. We haven't run as good as we're accustomed to running. So, we're probably, assuming they're close to us in points. Like I said, I haven't even looked at it. I'm taking your guys' word for it. The guys who aren't running quite as good and haven't been winning are obviously probably more concerned about it than the guys that, have the wins and have the performance every week and been sitting on poles and leading laps and winning stages and that type of thing.
Bob?
Bob Pockris, ESPN. Obviously there's two ways to advance, win or get in on points. Do you feel like you have a decent chance to win, or have you guys not knocked on the door enough to feel like that's a likelihood?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I come to the racetrack every week with a chance to win, but with that being said, it's been a year and a half since we won. It's probably, I don't know if it's my longest winless streak or not, but it feels like it is, or close to it. I'm almost sure I've never went 2 years without winning a race, so it's been it's been a long time. So when you look at it like that, you're like, show me, So we haven't been able to do it yet. So I hope to at least get a win before the year's over. We got 5 chances left. We got some great racetracks coming up. We just got to get our cars around a little bit better, and then we just, as a group, every single one of us has to execute better, and that starts with me. So, I know we're more than capable, but, we got to do it.
Any additional questions for Matt? Well, Matt, good luck this week.
Thank you.
Hey, if you win on Sunday, we'll send wheels. If I could have your attention here in the Media Center, we'll continue on with today's Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series media availability. We're joined by 7-time champion Jimmie Johnson, driver of the number 48 Lowe's Chevrolet for Hendrick Motorsports. Jimmie, after an adventurous Talladega, you now are living on the edge coming into Kansas Speedway. What do you draw from your past experience to help you deal with the playoff pressure that you have this week?
Yeah, it's a tough position to be in. In some ways, that crash also impacted other guys that I need to be concerned with. So, it kind of is what it is. We did fall a few spots in the points, but thankfully we did score points in both of those opening stages. So, I look back on Talladega, and I think we all know and feel like there's going to be a big one. And I think there's only 6 running at the end. So there's only a few people that actually made it through to see the checkered flag at all. Which isn't unexpected, but coming here, it's been a great track for us. We've had a ton of speed here. When I think back to this spring, and how many cars that we passed through the course of the day, we'll have a great performance here, and we're going to need to have a great day. It'd be great to get back to victory lane, get that momentum going in the right direction. But more than anything, we want to make sure that we advance and get to that next round of 8.
Okay, we'll open the floor for questions. We'll start with Claire, go to Holly, then to Bob.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. Everybody's debating and talking about and calling in to talk about what's Jimmie thinking, how is he, how's the team. Are you frustrated? Are you stressed out? You've won so many championships that you seem to be the kind of guy that would be able to kind of hold it together going into a cutoff race. But I also know you're hard on yourself, can't assume anything because that's what drives you. So how are you feeling headed into this weekend?
It's honestly everything. During the week, it's easy to get frustrated at the start of the week, reliving what happened. But we're a team and a group that thrives on adversity. Whenever we've been backed into a corner, we've always stepped up and have delivered. And we all the members of this 48 team love a challenge, and we're not even close to losing that desire and that fight to be out there and compete and race for the win and race for the championship. So, depending on the moment in time, sure, frustration, pressure, stress, all those things run through us. But that's part of pro sports. And the position I'm in, chasing my 8th championship, and the desire I have to be competitive week in and week out and be part of that Final Four. The same for my team. It's as high as it's ever been. We really want to be there. It's been a tough year in some respects. The speed department's been a little tough on us. I think we've been frustrated through the summer months, and that yielded poor results. And we really seem to be on the right track here the last few weeks in running competitive and collecting points, which is important.
We'll go to Holly, then to Bob, then to Lee, then to Reed.
Holly Kane, NASCAR.com. I'm wondering if you could just address, there's several champions here on that cutoff with you and Kyle Busch needing to get in and Matt Kenseth trying to get in, and you're all fairly close in points. If you could just talk about that dynamic. This is a very talented, accomplished group that is on the verge and really needs to, have a great weekend.
Yeah, it really is challenging. I mean, and then you think of this track and the speed that the Gibbs cars have had. It's been a great track for Matt and Kyle both. You know, I could go out there and put myself in a nice position in the points and maintain this 8th place on the bubble, and Matt or Kyle wins and shifts that whole thing down. So it's going to be a challenging weekend. We need to hit the track with the mindset of winning, largely because the two, you know, speaking of Matt and Kyle, those guys are both capable of winning here and shifting the points all around.
Bob?
Bob Parkhurst, ESPN. Throughout this elimination format, you've had Dover where you piece breaks and you're out. You win at Homestead when maybe you're not the best car. Is there any less pressure now than when this format was first introduced because of maybe you have more of a sense of the roll the dice aspect, or just, you know, you can only do so much in 3 races?
Yeah, it is much more circumstantial now than before, when you had a 10-race chase to worry about, or the entire season. There was a different flow to it. You know, now it's, you know, you've got to stay alive and move to the next round, and then within that round of races or Homestead itself, you know, there's just so much that can change. You know, it's all circumstances. So, you know, I think that gives us some optimism. We haven't had the exact year that we've wanted. The 78 has really kind of been in control of the year, and I think we're all jealous of the situation those guys are in. But I keep telling myself, you know, what happened last year. We have to make the Final Four, and then in Homestead, you know, who knows what will happen in that race, and last year's proof of that.
Lee, go ahead.
Lee Spencer, Motorsport.com. You joke about, you know, taking the kids to lunch the other day from the racetrack, or you know, Hendrick or wherever you guys were. But that being said, after seeing the direction that Toyota took by really beefing up their recruitment process and getting these drivers ready, did Hendrick kind of feel they were put in a situation where they really had to start thinking about the future and what that roster might look like?
I haven't heard or seen a concerted effort on that front. You know, when I think of, or any conversations I've been a part of, you know, on that front, you know, we kind of thought Dale would still be here, and then he made his announcement midway through the year. So it's not the focus of the team, and we have watched the Gibbs guys develop crew members and drivers. You know, you even look at Kyle's race team that he owns and how he's been able to identify and find these young guys and bring them along, which, you know, is very impressive kind of focus that whole group has, and I think it's benefited them really well. Hendrick Motorsports has had a driver development program in years past, and it just didn't work out as we had hoped, and took a lot more time and effort than we were really able to give. The Junior Motorsports relationship for us has kind of helped kind of fill that to a certain degree, but I think that Gibbs / Toyota, and I don't exactly know who's largely responsible for it, but the combination of their focus there, it's impressive what they've done. Like it or not, they have done a really nice job with it. We're in a position, I think, where it's just circumstances, and young guys are, you know, surrounding me. Chase has been on an arc to move in through our JRM system. Alex now called up, and then the opportunity to put William in. So we have some young guys, and I think what I was trying to get to in the beginning of my long-winded comment here was Rick has always been very good at finding young talent. You know, you look through the years, and he's been able to do it. So I think Rick enjoys the process of finding one person, but setting up the full development program has been something that he's not overly excited to do and has spent a lot of time on. Yep.
Reed, go ahead.
Reed Spencer with NASCAR Wire Service. Throughout the elimination playoffs so far this year, we've seen that stage points are very important, and they have actually carried people forward who wouldn't otherwise be there. Qualifying well, as Kyle and Martin Truex have shown, certainly helps you get stage points. Have you got anything special planned for qualifying emphasis this week? And if not, do you think you're going to have to use strategy to try to get some stage points, given the fact that Kyle's the guy behind you?
Yeah, strategy's tough to put into place when you have these short segments that we do. So it really does fall back on qualifying, and you know, it hasn't been a strong suit of mine, and over the last couple of years it slipped even more. This year we knew before the season ever started that the importance for qualifying well is going to ratchet up and be 2 to 3 times more important, essentially. Even with all that awareness and the thought process and attempts to raise our qualifying performance, we haven't yet. And we're looking at every option possible. So again, here this weekend, I personally am trying to find the right rhythm that's needed out there on the track to put up that lap time. And through practice and the 3 rounds of qualifying, at some point, I can sneak the speed out of the car and post a good lap. And for whatever reason, trying to back that up or do it lap after lap, just haven't been able to pull that off. If it's track conditions changing, over adjusting, over driving, whatever it might be, there really isn't a clear answer. So we've spent a lot of time focusing on it, and we're almost to a point now where we overthought it. Are we slowing ourselves down from overthinking it in some regards? So we're aware and trying hard, and have been trying hard to get that right. Hopefully we get it. It's going to be really important to get it.
Jerry, go ahead.
Jerry Jordan, KickingTheTires.net and Performance Racing Network. Jimmie, the past couple of weeks have been kind of interesting on pit road for you. But usually your pit crew is, or your spotter, with what happened last week, does any of that happen to bother you at all coming into this week, being a cutoff race? Or do you know what kind of discussion Chad had with the crew going, ahead of the game here?
Yeah, I mean, there's lessons learned in everything, and when I think of the Charlotte pit stop itself, and I think of Talladega and the mistake there that Earl made, and really all mistakes come from guys trying as hard as they can, and I personally have sympathy for that. I mean, the guys are just trying to do the best job they can, and everybody makes mistakes. I mean, I make plenty of them, and I think Fridays show that on a regular basis. So it's hard for me to jump on somebody over that. What I ask of myself is to learn from those lessons and try not to repeat them, and I know that my teammates do the same thing. So last week at Talladega, there's definitely a lesson in that, and just to make light of it a little bit, the process of the flag being withdrawn and the lead-in and NASCAR's communication to the teams to start engines and all that. I think we took for granted how fast our crew members are, and that they were so queued up and ready, and literally in, it seemed like 3 seconds time, maybe even less. Gosh, it was actually less. The lug nuts are off and we're in trouble, we're in violation. Like, it just happened so fast, and it came from a good place. Unfortunately, it was a mistake, and we'll try to clean that up, but it came from a good place.
We'll go to Dustin in the middle.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. A couple things. One, obviously you've said in the past that these tracks in the playoffs all set up very well for you, and you've won at least one race every year in the Chase playoff format. So how do you not get overly frustrated that you or your team gets overly frustrated with the performance and the situation that you're in? Because for years you've always said these all set up perfectly for you guys, and it's not working out. And my second question is, I know you talked about the importance of qualifying. The pit selection for next week at Martinsville is based off of qualifying today. So how much more does that add to it, especially for somebody like you, if you advance, what that can do for you next week?
Yeah, actually I might have to have you repeat your first one. But the second question for Martinsville, yeah, this is huge. We all know how important that first pit box is. I've won plenty. I think I maybe won 1 or 2 from that first pit box, but I know it's really useful and helpful when you have it. And the few times I have been in that pit box, I mean, you just need an okay pit stop and you roll off ahead of everybody. I mean, it's a big advantage, and everybody's aware of that. That today counts for that pit box. So it does put a premium on today's efforts, and I know it's not a double points day, but it's a double something day for sure. Now, the first question, can you go through that again?
You've said in the past these tracks all line up well, and you've had success and won every year in the Chase playoff format in this stretch. Now that you haven't, how do you not let that frustration for you or even for your team, because the expectation is Jimmie Johnson's going to win a race, Jimmie Johnson's going to do this, and now you're in this position of, there's some questions, or
Sure.
If nothing else, there's doubt. And obviously when there's doubt, that can seep in and create other issues.
Yeah, expectations are an interesting thing. I mean, what we live and experience within the team is usually different than the outside expectations. So we're very focused on our jobs, and if we stop and pull back and think as maybe the big collective group does, we could get caught up in that and potentially go down the road of, as you pointed out, 10 best tracks, pressure to win a race and so forth and so on. As a general statement, we want to win every race. We show up at every track with the intention to win. We know that we're capable of it. Some weeks are more challenging than others. We're very optimistic for here based on the past handful of races and our speed. So we have all that with us. But at the same time, as that, talking about those things, as that all goes on, your, the topic of doubt, the topic of, the psychology between the team and the driver and the race weekend itself, we usually spend the majority of our days and weeks doubting what we do. I mean, that just kind of comes with the territory. We're always experimenting with new setups in the cars. So, in some ways, the season kind of goes by quickly, and you're like, dang, I haven't won, myself, I haven't won since Dover. It's been a long time. We've been through a couple good tracks, and it's amazing how fast time goes by because you're so caught up in the moment and trying to find your way through and make your cars fast. So expectations, they are high. We feel like we've been playing a little catch up through the course of the year. So we're managing, I guess, probably the best way to do it, trying to manage the emotions. We know we won't execute well if we're overly frustrated. So we're just trying to manage all of that and move forward. Time, experience, and different stages of trying to manage the frustration. I think that the collective group can maybe limit or hinder the growth in trying to find the solution. Where we're at right now and the openness and the talking, the discussions, the way we're all working with each other, I think we've definitely hit the bottom side for ourselves this year and are in a very good place to kind of grow and end up where we want to. I mean, I really do feel that we're heading in the right directions in a lot of ways. The car is kind of the car with the speed, but through a summer of trying to find big chunks of speed, we're in a spot now where we feel pretty good about the foundation of our setups. We just got to go race. People make mistakes. We just have to go out there and finish where we're supposed to. And if somebody gives us a chance, man, we got to knock it out of the park then.
Sorry, guys, due to time, we got to wrap up. Jimmie, thanks for the time.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we'll continue with today's media availabilities here at Kansas Speedway for the Kansas Lottery 300 with William Byron, driver of the number 9 Vinoy Construction Chevrolet in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. William, you're the top seed in the NASCAR Xfinity Series playoffs heading into the round of 8. Can you talk about how you feel about that, and how you're preparing for Kansas Speedway? I know you won in the Truck Series here last year.
Yeah, it feels good to get back in the race car and be back at the racetrack this weekend, and we're excited for this round. I think, these are some really good racetracks for us, and, I've only raced here once, so it feels good to come back here and get some laps today and hopefully be able to get our Chevy dialed in. So hopefully just be able to have a solid weekend and get the stage points we need to kind of get ourselves rolling in the right direction. And I feel like we're going to have a strong round here, so hopefully just keep it going in the right direction.
Outstanding. With that, we'll open up for questions. If you have a question, raise your hand. We'll start here with Todd, Pat, Randy, and Lee, and Holly.
Hey, William, welcome back. How special is this place to you, since it was, the first place you won a NASCAR race and skipped prom for?
It's very special to kind of be able to see the racetrack again and be able to come back to it and remember what that was like. Getting your first win's always really special, and it's hard to kind of break through to get that first one. So it was cool to get that last year and kind of start the stretch of run we had with the wins last year and then this year as well. So hopefully we can just continue that this weekend. I feel like we've been pretty good on the 1.5 mile racetracks. We need to be a little better, and I think this weekend we're going to be really strong.
Pat, go ahead.
Pat DeCola, NASCAR.com. Looking at Jimmie's taking the kids to lunch tweet, has he started to take on sort of a mentor role for you, and what does he offer to you, maybe from like a mental aspect?
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of been able to spend some time together the last few weeks with just some different team things we've been doing in the simulator and some things there. So we were just going out to lunch as a group. We were doing some work in the sim and stuff like that. So it was fun to kind of take that picture. And the funny part was supposed to be being in the car seats. So that was funny. So that was cool to spend time with him and kind of pull from his knowledge and just learn how he was going to approach this weekend. And he feels like, it seems like he's really ready to go. And so we're going to take the same approach and just try and execute this weekend and hopefully have a good weekend.
We'll go to Randy, Lee, Holly, and back to Todd.
Speaking of that, hi, Randy Kovitz from USA Today, Kansas City Star. Speaking, you've only been here once and you won. How important was that to catapult you to the big season last year and now put you in a position where you're going to take over the 24 car next year?
Well, I think it was very important. I mean, kind of, each win is really what gets you the next opportunity. So it's really what got me the ride this year. And then the wins this year have got me the ride in the future. So, that's what we're going to try to do this weekend is just try and win a playoff race here. And those are really important, hard to get. And if we can do that, it's going to make this round a lot easier. So I feel like, with our cars the way they are, I think we can win. And I think this weekend would be a great time to do that. So we're just going to try and have a good couple practices and try and dial ourselves in and hopefully have a smooth day tomorrow.
Lee, go ahead.
Lee Spencer, Motorsport.com. How much emphasis has your team put on getting stage wins and stage points throughout the championship? Because there's such a difference between the best teams, the best cars in your series, more so than Cup. Have you guys looked at it when you've prepared your strategy going into the weekend?
I think like Dover, we qualified on the pole and won a stage, finished third, and I think we were first, second, and third in the 3 stages, I guess. So that was really important. I mean, that was a huge buffer. I think we're 5 to 10 points up on the cut line after a couple of things at Kentucky, and then we were 40 points up. So it was a big difference to get those points. Obviously, now you're racing for the top 4 spots, so it's going to be tighter. But I feel like if you can go out and have a dominant day, you're going to gain yourself 20 to 25 points, which is what I've seen on the Cup side is like Kevin at Charlotte got that buffer of about 20 points, even with wrecking at Talladega. So I feel like you're going to have to get those points, and it's going to make a huge difference if you need those in the next race.
Holly, go ahead.
Hi, Holly Kane, NASCAR.com. I just wanted to get kind of your take on having the off week. Is that kind of a good thing to get you ready for the big stretch here? Or are you somebody that wishes it was, keeping the momentum going, or just kind of your thoughts on that and kind of going in this week where your head is because of that?
I think that, we had been on a 20 race stretch, so it had been, quite a while since we had a break, but I think you kind of get in that rhythm of going to the racetrack and not worrying about the little details of how you get there or, how practice goes. You kind of get in that rhythm of doing things. But, I really approach every race. I take it really seriously, and I feel like, it's kind of a new challenge each week. So I don't think it's much different coming after an off week. I think you're just a little more refreshed, maybe you're looking at things from a different perspective because you've been able to kind of take a step back and look at what you've done. So I feel like for us, we just want to keep it rolling and execute each race and just prepare ourselves the best we can for the next 3 races, which is what really counts. So this is the part of the season that matters the most, especially this round is what really makes your season. So you got to make sure you're fresh for that.
Todd, then to Randy.
2 things. First, when you won that race here at Kansas a couple years ago, could you have imagined how quickly you would get this opportunity in the Cup Series? Does it seem just insane how quickly you've gotten this chance?
Yeah, it's definitely weird. I mean, last year I was sitting up here with Kyle and my crew chief Rudy, and just the excitement of winning the first race was super exciting, and didn't know what was really ahead of us for that year, and didn't know whether I was going to run that truck series again or whatever. So then we got to the 4th or 5th win, and we kind of knew we were going to do something different the next year, and then got the opportunity from Mr. H shortly after that, and really just has made this year a blast and allowed me to go out there and do what I love. So I think I wouldn't have expected it, but it's just a credit to the race teams I've had and also how we've been able to execute and go win. And you got to win, and that's what we've been able to do so far. So hopefully we can just keep doing that.
And what would it mean if you could win it? You know, there's a long way to go, obviously, here in this season, but what would it mean if you could go into the Cup Series as an Xfinity champ? I mean, what kind of momentum would that be for you?
It would be huge. I mean, you know, this is the pressure of these races and how you got to approach them is something you hope to be able to practice, and that's something I hated that I missed out last year, was not having that pressure and that feeling going into Homestead of being in the championship hunt. So I want to get to that point and be able to, you know, apply myself and be able to see what I can do in that situation, because that's every racer wants that one shot to, you know, have to win at Homestead. So we just want to get to that point in the season and be able to see what we can do from there.
Randy, go ahead.
And just looking ahead to next year, how daunting or intimidating or scary or whatever it is, getting to the 24 and what that car has been, you know, historically.
I mean, it's definitely pressure, but it's exciting. I mean, it's an unbelievable team over there, the resources they have and the people I have to lean on. You know, I spent some time in the off week meeting with Jeff a little bit and talking to him, and it's just incredible the resources I'll have. So very excited for that, and you know, I know it's going to be something you just hope to have that opportunity, you know, your whole life. So it's going to be really cool, and that's what this is about, is just preparing the best I can to handle those situations, and that's what we're trying to do.
We'll wrap up here with Reed.
Reed Spencer with NASCAR Wire Service. You talk about using the simulator. Do you have to fight your teammates for simulator time at this point? And are you doing both Cup car and Xfinity car in the sims?
Yeah, I mean, I've been helping them a little bit, not as much as Alex. Alex is in there a lot and very dedicated to it, to helping them, and that's kind of been his job this year with not being on the racetrack. But for me, I go in there and help them with Cup Series stuff most of the time. Sometimes they give us some things to do for Xfinity, but most of the time it's Cup stuff and kind of seeing what they're going to do for the weekend. So it's a very helpful tool, and just thankful for Chevy's support there to have that for us. I feel like that's a critical part of the sport right now, is doing those things. So we're trying to keep developing in it, and I think it's going really well, and I just enjoy being in there and being able to use it.
William, thanks for the time, and good luck tomorrow.
Appreciate it.